do one more thing, and we are good to go. Okay. As we typically do, I want to make sure you guys are aware of some of the sponsors that are able to make this entire series possible. And if you're not familiar with our platform, Tampa Bay Real Producers is a monthly magazine that features the top 500 real estate agents in the Tampa Bay market. Most of the people, I think, actually, with the exception of Kent, who's about to go out in one of our upcoming issues, all three of Jeffrey, Christina, and Allie have all been featured in previous issues of Tampa Bay Real Producers. And we look forward to maybe even having you guys be featured again in a different section potentially in months to come. So other than the monthly magazine, we also, as you probably are aware, do a series of events throughout the year. Next Thursday, just as a plug, we do have an event scheduled at the Marina Cantina in Clearwater. So we'd love to have you guys attend, of course, as panelists. And if you are lucky enough to be specially invited to our happy hour yacht cruise, which we're doing from 6 to 7, an hour before the event runs from 7 to 9:30, but we do have a beautiful yacht that's going to be taking out about 20 agents with a couple of our sponsors for the event next Thursday. And you 4 panelists, if you have not officially gotten that invitation by being on this panel, you are invited. So we would love to have you join us. If you're able to make it, just let me know.
Thank you for throwing that for my birthday. I appreciate it. Nice.
Why do you think we picked that date, Jeffrey? We knew what we were doing.
You're a smart guy.
We did our research, man. We did our research. But we're excited about that. And as you guys probably are aware, we do these monthly panels every month with a different topic. And we have usually 4 rock star panelists that today definitely does not disappoint. So let me introduce you to 3 of our sponsors that have made this series possible because, you know, as you guys are all aware, we don't collect any money from real estate agents. We don't sell anything to real estate agents. I've had agents ask to pay me to be featured in our magazine, and I've refused them. We don't accept any money to be featured in Real Producers, but we do, of course, pay for everything through our great sponsors and the partners that make all this possible. So I'd like to let them say a word or two, and then we'll dive right into our panel. I want to introduce you to Chance with Van Dyke Mortgage. Van Dyke has been a partner of ours since, actually in numerous markets, by the way. They work with us in Orlando. They work with us here in Tampa. They've worked with us in other real producer markets across the country. And Chance, obviously, here is a local representative of John Jones's talented squad with Van Dyke Mortgage. So, Chance, you want to say hello?
Absolutely. Well, good morning, Don. Good morning, panelists. And good morning, everyone listening out there. Excuse me. Chance here with Van Dyke Mortgage. If you don't know who I am, shame on me. So, but I just wanted to just express a lot of gratitude to everyone out there on behalf of Van Dyke Mortgage. Thank you so much for putting a lot of trust into us and then having these great relationships that we have built with you all. In regards to, you know, how we're operating with things, still like a well-oiled machine, so which is fantastic during a very interesting time such as this. I think a lot of us are scratching our heads right now going, what is going on in real estate, right? So the fact that we're able to accommodate to the volume without having any lag in turn times and actually doing better than some of the other larger competitors out there, we take a lot of pride in that. So, but if there's anything that we could ever do for you, definitely reach out, let us know. I'd be more than glad to accommodate and help out in any way. And yeah, definitely looking forward to hearing the panelists and what they have to say today as well too. So I know we have some amazing talent here and some very big names and big teams in the area. So going to be pulling out my notepad on this one. So thank you so much, everyone.
Thanks again for your support, Chance, and excited to see you hopefully next week as well at our event. Let me introduce you as well to one of our biggest supporters and somebody who I've gotten to know and I just admire and love, and that's Margot Ackerman with Home Team Inspections. She's a great person to get to know if you're not familiar with Margot and what they do for top agents all around this Bay Area. But let me have her say a word, as they've been a great supporter of our platform since day one. Margot, great to have you.
Thanks, Don. We at Home Team are really excited to be part of this great network, okay, and to be able to support the realtors that we love so much. You know, it's exciting because everybody knows the benefit of a team. And Home Team was founded 26 years ago, and we too operate as a team because our founder decided that if we could reduce the amount of time, it would give the realtor more time to be able to take care of business or do something with your family. To understand what we do, you need to understand a little new math today. So bear with me. In my world, 1 + 1 = 1. One home inspector plus another person equals the fact that we do that home inspection in 1 hour. Sounds crazy, but when you think of it, it makes more sense to get it over with. We have people now that have done, realtors that have done 2 inspections in 1 day because everybody's so busy, or 2 inspections in a week. They love the idea that we always have time. Let me also go a little bit further. In my world, 1 + 3 and 1 + 4 still equals 1 hour. So if you need more people to be there to do the bug inspection and to do the insurance inspection, we bring those people. And in 1 hour from start to finish, the inspection is done and you know what's going on. And I'd love to talk to you. We just added another team, and we've added the ability to do another 600 inspections. And I too will see you on the boat. Take care and enjoy the meeting. Thank you.
Looking forward to it. You know, I'm just glad that I didn't have to figure out math as part of the current role that I have right now.
You know, my husband wrote this. This is not my thinking. 1 + 1 = 1. But you know something? I thought it was a good, fun way to start out to talk about teams, because you guys are amazing with what you put together.
Amen. Amen. And thankfully, we can build great teams without having to be math experts. That's for sure. So that's good to know. All right. And one more sponsor I'd like to introduce you to. And we're excited to actually have for the first time at our panels, Artesian Title as one of our sponsors. Artesian has worked with us in our Orlando market for years. And they have actually worked with us here in the Tampa Bay market as well over the last about a year now. But just recently hopped on as a sponsor for this panel series. And Amay Lyons is our local. I know you're impressed that I got your first name right and didn't call you Amy,
so
right?
Happy.
Amay, why don't you say hello? And we're glad to have you here.
Hi, thank you so much. Hi, everyone. I'm Amay. Thanks so much for having me. I'm actually kind of a new kid on the block. I just moved over here by way of Orlando, got married, decided to move over here. But Artesian Title, we actually have locations all over Florida. And one great thing about our services is we actually will send our concierge closers to your clients for their closing anytime, anywhere, any place at no extra cost to them. So basically anywhere in Florida. We also just rolled out a new program that will allow you to close up to 13 days earlier. And it actually includes a media package with professional photos, aerial drone video, Matterport, and a unique URL for $195 and it's directly with the seller. So we're just super excited to be here with these amazing fellow sponsors. Thank you for the amazing warm welcome that you've extended to us, and I can't wait to get to know all of you.
Thanks again. And we're excited to have you here, and I look forward to seeing you guys next week as well.
Yes.
Should be a great time for all. So, all right. Well, as a sponsor, you know the drill. I'm going to be, unfortunately, demoting you out of the panel spotlight. So wave, say goodbye. And let's see if I can make that happen. Okay. Oh, Chance has disappeared. Okay. There goes Margot, unfortunately, and Amay. We love you, but we have to say goodbye. All right. All right, guys, so let's go ahead and dive right in, and I am going to just do a very brief introduction because the first thing we're going to do is have each one of you do a very quick little story of your own career. That's how we've started most of these panels. Just around the horn with a quick little synopsis of how you would kind of sum up in maybe 2 minutes or less your journey so far with where you are today in real estate. But let me quickly introduce all of our panelists. So excited to have Christina Griffin here with us today. Christina was a couple things that I stole from her bio. Number 53 on the Wall Street Journal Real Trends Top 1,000 Individual Agent list. The Griffin Group has been on the Wall Street Journal and Real Trends Top 1,000 as a team every year since that nomination. She's won the Elder Award, has been nominated for Tampa Bay Journal's Women of the Year Award, which I believe Allie has as well. We have 2 Tampa Bay Business Women of the Year on this panel, which is exciting to see. Over 4,000 closings. She really made a name for herself, building a brand under the distressed property when that became and she'll probably elaborate on that a little bit, but Christina has built a great team, and she can correct me on anything that I'm wrong about. I believe has over 40 members on her team right now, just crushing it throughout the Tampa Bay area. She's a real estate coach. She's in Gary Keller's top 100. I loved a couple things that I saw in her bio, and this one stood out to me, where her strengths lie in teaching other people how to master their thinking to achieve success, which speaks a lot to why people would be attracted to work with her, because we all know that how we think is really what determines our actions. And ultimately, she's the epitome of failure is never an option. And I think we'll hear a little bit of that from her in just a few minutes. So thank you for being here, Christina. We're glad to have you. I also have the pleasure of introducing you to Allie St. Cyr. Allie has a cool story because, she tells in the feature that we did with her recently that she never really thought of herself as somebody who would have been involved in real estate with a previous career. That a friend of hers, if I remember reading the article correctly, mentioned to her, maybe you should get into real estate, because she can tell that she just was not happy with her current career at that time. She has built a dynamic team working along with her parents, which I thought is really cool as well, with the Tomlin St. Cyr team, their location in South Tampa. They have over 50 agents now on their team, did over $71 million last year as a team in 2019. In my interview with Allie, what stood out to me was we really spent a good amount of time talking about systems and culture and the importance of both of those things in building any successful team. I'm sure we'll dive into that here as well. As I mentioned earlier, Allie is also a Tampa Bay Business Journal Woman of the Year, heavily involved in the South Tampa community in so many different ways to make an impact. And as you heard her mention earlier, she has a beautiful 1-year-old son and enjoys lobstering in Miami with her husband as well. So Allie, we are fired up to have you here. Thanks again for being here. All right, so now let me go ahead and introduce you to Kent. Kent Rodahaver. Let me make sure I got my stuff together here for you, Kent. Perfect. So Kent is a fascinating individual. I had the pleasure of interviewing Kent recently, and he, as you see, will be coming out very shortly in one of our upcoming issues with Tampa Bay Real Producers. Kent, very experienced over the years in real estate. There's literally just like a laundry list of designations that I can go through. From luxury property specialist to second home specialist to accredited buyer. I mean, literally, I can go through that for the entire introduction. A graduate of Yale University as an advanced negotiations executive program. He's a published author, a public speaker, has clientele from all over the country as well as international. I found this fascinating. He's a competitive endurance athlete. Kent has run multi-marathons. He's a 2-time Ironman finisher. He's raced in both national and world championships on the athletic front, which again speaks to the mentality that you need to even do something like that, right? That's helped him in building his team. A whole list of awards that he's achieved with him and his team. He currently runs Next Home South Point here in Tampa Bay. And it consists of the broker, 6 associates, and an operations manager. The team last year closed over 116 transactions with a total sales volume of over $27 million. So, Kent, we are fired up to have you here, man, and excited to hear what you have to say.
Thank you.
And then, of course, last but definitely not least is a gentleman that we've featured in a previous issue before, Jeffrey Borham with the KW team. He owns Team Borham at Keller Williams, and this, of course, in the beautiful sunny Tampa Bay area. Last year, I thought this was cool. His organization served over 234 families for over $68 million in volume and over $1.9 million in gross commissions to his team. So that's exciting to see. His team currently has 6 operations staff, 2 ISAs, 10 agent partners. He's a member of the Gary Keller's Top Mastermind Group, which I've heard amazing things about from Tony Baroni and some others. So I'd love to pick your brain a little bit more about that. Jeff, his team increased production. I thought this was kind of neat, by 50% from 1 year, from 2018 to 2019. That's a huge spike, of course, in 1 year. He's an approved course instructor. He's a MAPS coach, just passionate about seeing other people succeed across the board. Jeff is also a proud family man, which I think was the most important part of the bio. He values time with his son Ryder and his daughter Rayon above all else. And I look forward to getting to know you even more, Jeff, next week, hopefully at our event. Since it is your birthday, maybe you might be busy, but if you can make it, we'd love to have you stop on by. So
maybe for the yacht, you know.
Excited to have all 4 of you guys here. As I mentioned earlier, we're going to dive right in, and we'll start with just a brief story. So as I go through these questions, don't feel obligated to have to all 4 of you chime in on every question. Of course, you can always chime in on anything you want to, but as we go through the questions, you might be, you know, I rotate around and we all chime in, and you might feel like there was nothing more that you wanted to add about a particular question. That's absolutely fine. But of course, if you have something you do want to add, then you'll have your opportunity to do so as well. But for this first question, we'll have each one of you at least share for two minutes or so, like just a quick little story of your background, where you got to where you are today. Keep in mind that there are people watching this that are brand new, that would love to build an organization like you 4 have, that maybe don't even know where to start, or how to start moving forward in the right direction. There are many veterans as well that already have a team that would like to advance their team and still get to where you guys are at today. So why don't we start first with Christina, and we'll just do a brief introduction that way. Go ahead, Christina.
Okay, I'm looking at the clock, so 2 minutes. Okay, so I'd say where I got started, and I'll give a brief summary. It has a lot to do with my background and my story, so I share it a lot. My mom, sister, and my dad all died 9 years apart. I had a full ride to University of Florida. When my dad died when I was 18, I had to make the decision to get into real estate, to forego college or go into some type of business or job that would allow me to take care of my sister. So I made the decision to take custody of her instead of my grandmother. And my ex-husband says, why don't you get into real estate like your mom? And my mom was a broker with Century 21 when she passed in the 80s. So that was how I got into real estate. I was like, okay, sure. Immediately, I started with property management, managed a large property management community. 21 had my first child, and started working for a small real estate investor. And I got really great at selling his properties and sourcing properties. So that's where I started the investor distressed property background, and just grew that, did hundreds of flips, helped investors find hundreds of homes. And then as the downturn happened, lots of people were losing their homes, including investors that I sold the houses to. And one of the banks said, can you start dealing with these properties that we're taking back and sell them? So just built a really big business on distressed properties, and moved to Coldwell Banker. sold hundreds and hundreds, had a lot more life events happen. My sister passed away. You know, I've bad divorce, things like that. What I would say is I built a really big business, but it all changed for me when one of my banks asked me to go to a Tom Ferry event. And I did not know what a CRM was. And I had hundreds of listings. So I have been on a mission to take control of my business and run a business, and be very efficient. And we have learned and failed. And I joined Keller Williams 2.5 years ago, and I'm just have 3 beautiful kids, married to the love of my life. And that's me in a short 3-minute segment.
Impressive. There's a lot to jam in there for a 3-minute segment.
Yeah.
We appreciate you trying for sure. But it's like a Disney movie. It's like, you know, you had your ups and downs, and then it ended with life at, you know, everything's beautiful and, you know, happy ever after, right?
Well, we're trying. Well, I met him. He was my personal trainer. Walked in 17 years ago to Gold's Gym and asked for the best trainer that they had, and in walks him. So we've been together and been through a lot. So
awesome. So
yeah.
for all you single ladies out there, Gold's Gym is the way to go. Very cool.
There's a lot more to tell. You guys can check out on YouTube or my blog, but we'll talk more about it later.
Allie, why don't we have you go next?
Sure. Well, Don, you had already mentioned that somebody had actually put the idea in my head to get into real estate. I was working at an insurance firm. My family, their whole background is in insurance. So when I graduated from the University of Florida, I decided, well, heck, I guess I'll go into insurance. This just seems like the natural path. And I was actually at dinner at Fly Bar with my husband. He was my boyfriend at the time. And he asked me a question that sometimes you just never realize that there is like some hidden emotion behind something that you didn't even know existed. But he like looked me straight in the face and he said, "Are you happy?" And I'm a naturally pretty happy person. I graduated during the downturn in the economy, so it was very hard to get a job. So I felt so grateful that I was just even employed. But my job itself, I felt like I wasn't really utilizing my skills, and I wasn't very good at it either. I was doing inside sales, trying to connect with people over the phone, which that's a whole separate set of skills. And I just started bawling in the middle of Fly Bar, and it was so embarrassing. And of course, everybody's looking at us like, what did he say? And he, you know, it just really struck a nerve. And I was like, God, maybe I'm really not happy. And he was like, you need to get into real estate. And I was like, what? Where did that come from? And his mother was in real estate in Naples, Florida, and his dad ended up joining his mom for a few years. And he was like, you just have all of the skills that it takes to be successful in real estate. Meanwhile, I had never even owned a piece of real estate in my life. I was 25 years old, never sold, didn't know anything about real estate. So I actually responded and I said, that is the most stupid idea I have ever heard. For you to think that I could work on straight commission is just absurd, because I can't imagine handling that stress. And it's funny how things come into your life at the right time, because a few weeks later, they actually announced that they were laying off my entire division at the insurance company that I was with. And I was like, oh. And I was devastated, which was kind of funny because I was just crying that I wasn't happy. But I think it was more of, you know, a pride thing, you know, to be laid off. And I now look back and feel so grateful for that opportunity, because it really pushed me out of my comfort zone. I feel like a lot of people just move from, you know, they just move, you know, the next promotion, and don't get really shoved out of the nest. So it gave me the opportunity to think about, what do I really want to do? And it ended up being real estate. And so I started off at Coldwell Banker with Christina, and loved, you know, admiring the amazing work that she had done. I mean, what a powerhouse woman we had over there in Hyde Park. And I really leaned on a lot of people who ended up becoming my mentor. And but for about, you know, 6 to 8 months, I floundered around for a while trying to figure out what the heck to do. And I think I sold, you know, 2 I had 2 sales my first year and, brought in about $5,000 of income. So really sucked.
Must have been fired
Hoping
up.
that year 2 would be better, which it was, thank goodness. I think I did about 12 that second year, and then it just progressed and progressed from there. And so, yeah, that's the story of how I got into real estate. And then about 4 years after working at Coldwell Banker, I decided to do something on my own. There were a lot of things I wanted to do differently. One of the biggest reasons we started our firm is because I just didn't like seeing all of the unethical behavior that happens in our industry, unfortunately. And I wanted to create a firm with a certain caliber of agents that we allowed to be a part of our team. And of course, that comes with a zero tolerance ethics policy. And so we have about 50 agents of amazing people that I get to work with every day. And I'm so happy that my husband, gave me that stupid idea.
Well, now I know why you married him. So that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
But we're excited to have you here. And I always love hearing people's even abbreviated version of their story. And I think I get a lot of feedback. We start every panel with this topic because there are so many different people watching and listening who can relate to different people's stories. And when they hear your struggles and they hear, where you got to, all 4 of you are wildly successful in what you're doing today. And, it hasn't always been that way across the board. So being able to hear the stories, the good and the bad, definitely relate to different people in different ways. So we appreciate that, Allie. Kent, why don't we go to you?
Thanks, Don. And you're right. It's so easy for people to see you when you're maybe at the height of what you're doing and not recognize when you've been at your lowest lows. And it's so true that's where a lot of our characters built. And that's where, I think some of the leading producers are weeded out from those that aren't. And you really have to scratch and scrimp to get from that place to where you are now. And even just within our group so far, listening to Christina and Allie, I can relate to a lot of what they said. And interestingly, I kind of got my start in real estate back in the late 90s as an investor. I think 98, I did my first, what we now classify as flips, when they weren't called flips and they weren't cool and they weren't on every TV show that you looked at, and the margins were decent and it was full of ethical people. So there's been some very major changes in that industry as well. And Christina knows it probably better than anyone. And so I did that for a couple of years. And in 2005, I went ahead and got my general contractor's license and started a development firm. And we did commercial and residential, commercial development, investments, and so on and so forth. And about a year or 2 after that, and I don't think Christina remembers this, but she and I worked together a fair amount in that sandbox of the distressed properties, because my firm was doing the majority of the west coast of Florida, from Inverness all the way down into Lee County, as far as a lot of the property valuations and a lot of the repair work, and also picking up those properties as well for our investments and turning those back around and selling them. So as part of that, I was involved in a lot of transactional stuff. I was working with a lot of amazing, agents and brokers. And again, I'm going to throw this out to Christina. She was one of those people that I adored working with. She was always just, an amazing professional. And, and there's probably 10 or 15 of those that were in that group that I still remember and still, deal with today. And they're inspirations to us, because that's not the funnest industry. That is not, $1 million listing. That is grimy, cruddy, crazy work, but it builds that character again. And obviously, with Christina's success as well, I mean, that's where we're created. So like I was saying, I really enjoyed the transactional side of that. Really appreciated what was going on. Did a ton of it myself without being a licensed agent. So soon thereafter, I went out and got my associate's license and worked under, a smaller boutique brokerage for a while. And then I went off into one of the freedom shops here, one of the largest brokerages in the area, and did that for a couple of years, and decided I wanted to start my own firm. So went and got my broker's license, was going to start a full independent firm, started doing some research and realized that my brand, Next Home was definitely the fit for me for who I was, the kind of team I wanted to build. And that's kind of my story. We went from me starting Next Home South Point to start bringing on, the team members that I currently have. And I am a broker owner of the office, and we have a very small office. I don't want to classify us as a boutique office because I don't necessarily think that really fits who we are. We're just an amazing culture. And the team that I have is amazing. And I'm sure as we talk more, I'll go more into that. But that's kind of my story. Again, like both Ali and Christina said, we could sit here and speak for hours and hours, and maybe some of that will come out over the next hour or so. But thank you, Don, for the invite. It was a pleasure when you reached out to me, and I'm thrilled to be here. And just, if those that are out there watching or any of the panelists get one tiny little morsel of something from me, then my time here is well served. So thank you.
Yeah, man, we're glad to dive into it. And we're going to talk about culture in one of our questions. I think that's an important point for anybody building a team. And we will definitely dive into that topic. And so thanks again for being here, Kent. Let's go to Jeff. Jeff, you want to share? There's a lot to pack in, I know, in a few minutes, but do your best, buddy.
Yeah, I think I can handle it. So I fell into real estate when I was 19. I actually bought a house that's 2004 in Holiday, and kind of remodeled it, if you will, and moved in. So I kind of flipped it while living there, and I was driving to work. I was a waiter at the time, and there was an ad, a radio ad on 93.3 FLZ, and that was for Tuscany at Innisbrook, which was a condo conversion. So I'm like, okay, I was born and raised in Palm Harbor, and frankly, I didn't like living in Holiday, even though I liked the $374 total mortgage payment. So I'm driving to work at Longhorn in Palm Harbor, and I hear the ad for Tuscany. I'm like, you know what, maybe I'll just go live across the street from where I work. At this time I had come back from USF. I was going to SPC, I was doing the Tarpon campus, which is right by Tuscany as well. So I go in there, and I just turned 20 years old, and the sales manager of the condo conversion's looking at me like, who the heck is this kid, and can he really buy a condo? So I did, and impressed them. So they basically hired me to be a showing tour guide at the condo conversion. And what would happen is every Sunday there'd be about 10 of us because it was an Israeli company. It was closed on Saturdays. So on Sunday we'd have 50, 60, 70 people come through the community, and I would outsell the other 9 tour guides. Everyone I brought back, I would get to sit down with a salesperson. So they insisted that I quit Longhorn and come and work with them full time. And I did. So, that's how I got into real estate, was condo conversions. I was kind of like a little bit in that development world, a little bit of a rock star. They would send me from community to community, especially the condo conversion market, for those of you that don't know, really started to shut down in 06. It did not take till 07 or 08 for there to be a pullback. Our market died, honestly, started slowing down the back half of 05 even. So what would happen is I would just go around all of Tampa Bay to different communities, do a re-grand opening, and that's really what I did for a couple of years while the market was tanking. I then transitioned to a property in Orlando. I managed the sales of a receivership property. So the whole thing was basically one big short sale, if you will. So that was my first engagement with a short sale. It was an entire community. So that's what I did. And then when that died, even that died at the end of 08, when the stock market crashed. You all probably remember in October, the market crashed and everything went where. So I came back home to Tampa Bay. I got into commercial real estate for 09, 10, and 11, and started, really selling homes to my friends for the first time in general real estate, and liked that. So I decided to interview residential companies and interviewed all the big boys, ended up at Keller Williams, and I'm still here. Really just kind of was winging it from 12 to 15. And then things started picking up in 16. And I know we're going to talk more about this. And that's really when I started building a team. I've done inside of Keller Williams. I decided to be a MAPS coach at one point. I'm no longer. I am a KWU approved trainer, so I train all over the place for Keller Williams. And that's really my story.
Good stuff, man. Appreciate the background. And all right, so let's dive into some nitty gritty here regarding the team building process. And I know that we have a lot of people hungry to get some information here about that. So first question is, and I'm going to kind of put this together as a two-part question. At what point in your careers did you start building a team, and why was that the right time for you? Because we all know that different people, start that whole process in very different timing. So at what point did you start, your process of building a team? Why was that the right time to start building a team? And also, what were some of those initial challenges that you started facing right there in the beginning of the building process? So, what point in your career did you start building a team? Why was that the right time for you? What were some of those initial challenges that you were facing? And if you want to throw in there how you overcame some of those challenges, that's a lot loaded into one question, but I think we can have some good dialogue revolving around that. So I'm going to go in our opposite order. I'm going to start with Jeff, if that's cool with him, and we'll let you guys chime in. So Jeff, you want to start us off?
Yeah, so to take you back in history again, 2014, just kind of winging it. I sold, I think, 34 properties that year. And then, I rolled into 2015 and got serious. I got a professional coach for the first time in my career and started to put together a really thorough database and a game plan. And my business, exploded. I sold 85 properties that year. So that's really what caused me to build a team, is I had all this business coming in, and frankly, I needed somebody to help me with the leads. And I knew that I am a prototypical profile for sales. I mean, I am a salesperson by nature, and I definitely did not want anything to do with paperwork or compliance or setting up a system. So I had to hire a good EA. So that was just a natural given. I had to build out a support team and a support staff. So that's what caused it, simply put, is doing what you're supposed to as a salesperson, which is what we are if you're an agent. And whatever your form of lead generation is I created enough business coming in that I didn't want to handle all of it, to be honest. I mean, there's only so many houses and, crisscrossing. And back in 2000 and even 15 and 14, there was a lot more signing in person. Like, not everybody was doing e-signing. So there's only so many times you want to crisscross Tampa Bay with 7 different buyers getting things initialed and signed before you're like, I need help. So that's what caused me to want to start building a team. And really the thing to overcome is, if you're not a natural business person, which 99.9% of us aren't, is slowing down and learning how to hire, understanding what culture and what types of people you want to get into business with. Because if you're a fast-paced selling machine, you don't naturally want to slow down and take someone through a real hiring process and multiple interviews and look at personality assessments. So sometimes we actually have to hit the brake a little bit and slow down and do what we need to do so that we can accelerate even faster.
Good stuff. I thought it was neat that you were able. It seemed like a lot of your growth went from one year to the next after getting a coach. You mentioned hiring a coach, and I'm sure you can probably elaborate on that if we have more time, but what that might have done for you. So that might be a note for many people to take, is, taking, humbling yourself in a way and realizing that, finding some outside coaching can really make a huge impact in someone's business, which you saw a huge spike when Jeff was able to do that. And then it sounds like building the team was out of necessity, just based on the number, based on volume. Somebody threw a question, by the way, in our chat saying, is it worth starting a team if you're only doing 30 to 40 transactions a year? Jeff, what's your opinion on that?
Well, obviously the word team can have a different definition to anybody and everybody. I mean, I started to build a team really setting the foundation following a 34 unit year. So I guess the question back really is, are you a 30 to 40 unit agent for the rest of your career? Like, you're happy and that's what you want to do? Or is this just a springboard to, you have the ability, the desire, and so forth, that you want to build more on top of it? Because 30 to 40 transactions is a great foundation, So it's really just what your desire is. Is it a foundation for you that you want to springboard, or do you like the income and the quality of life and all that? Because building a team is not for the faint of heart. So you got to make sure you want it, because honestly, you're probably making more money selling 35 transactions than you will the first couple years building a team.
Yeah, good point. The average, just for context, the average top 500 producer that we feature, they closed 40 transactions last year. You know, that was the average from last year. So you're right in that sweet spot.
You're talking about netting. You're talking about netting probably 250, right? If you're doing it all yourself, give or take a little bit, depending on price point. Yep. You know, when you're first building a team and you make a couple hires and this and that goes down to 100 real quick. So you just have to understand.
As a humble response too, I do about 30 a year.
Yeah. There you go. Absolutely.
Ali, why don't you go next on the price point?
Question.
Yeah, it really depends on what price point you're focusing in. You know, it's going to give you a little bit more room, of course, if you're working with a higher average sale price. And where are you really trying to compete in the market? I think a lot of times, you know, when you listen to the different stories of the people on this panel, you know, I don't know if I've ever necessarily competed with anyone on this panel, because we run a very different show. And so you can't be everything to everyone. You need to figure out what your niche is and then run with that. So the answers are going to be very different depending on what market you're trying to attract. For me, I do a very, high quality of service, very concierge. I physically can't do it all by myself. And I decided to make the change into just being a single agent to building a team when honestly, it was a burnout. I was just every single weekend, every single evening. And I didn't even have kids at the time. So I don't know how people did it with children, but my husband came to me and he was like, this ain't working. Something needs to change. Like, you're becoming a terrible human being because of it was just always on my phone all the time. And sorry, I got to take this call. And he was just put on the back burner. And that's just not the kind of life that I choose to live. And so one of the reasons was, yes, I was making good money. Could I continue for a few years to make great money? But what kind of person am I going to be in the next couple of years if I continue this path? And just like Jeff said, it's about quality of life as well. And when you make that first hire, this is why a lot of agents don't get over that hump of building a team, is because it's an investment. Don't expect that you're going to make more money that first year that you start hiring a team. That's not how it works. It's an investment in the long term. And are you a 30 transaction producer for the rest of your career? No, you're investing, which means you're going to lose a little bit of money up front, but you're investing in being able to take yourself and catapult yourself further, as Jeff said.
What are some of the challenges that you can remember, Ali, that you were going through as you started the process of building the team? Anything stick out to you that you remember and how you overcame it?
Finding the right person, because the wrong hire is going to cost you a lot more time and money. And if you hire the wrong person, then you've made it worse. So invest in that time to make sure that it's the right culture fit. And if I can say anything about finding the right person, it's not necessarily the amount of experience that they have, but hire for attitude and groomability. Is it somebody who takes feedback well, who's looking for that feedback so that they can grow? And if you give them feedback, do they do it 10 times better the next time after that feedback? So I think the right attitude and making sure that they are disciplined is more important than someone who necessarily has real estate experience. And you can find some really great people that have never worked in real estate if it's the right fit for your culture and the right fit for you. You have to be compatible.
Good stuff. We're going to talk about a little bit more about clarifying that culture fit in a minute. So I appreciate that lead in. Kent, let's go to you. When did you start building your team? Why was that the right time for you? And what were some of those initial challenges?
Yeah, well, obviously when I opened my brokerage, I had to build my team, of some decent.
It comes with the territory, right?
Exactly. It kind of does. But I'm going to go back to what Ali was saying too. It's the person, it's the character of that person. And, one of the challenges that I see, and I also see a lot of other team leads and brokers deal with, is, sometimes you want to find that that fit and you don't find it. So you find yourself almost in a situation of making a desperate decision, and you have to just stick to your game plan, stick to your guns, and don't just get caught up in hiring an associate because they have a license and a pulse. And there are so many brokerages, and there's so many maybe starting up teams that don't really get the whole aspect of building a successful team. They're more about numbers or filling a void, even if they fill that void with the incorrect puzzle piece, so to speak. So, for us and for me, it's all about the character. Kind of like Ali said, it's about who that person is, how they fit within your organization and your culture. I have no desire to grow my team exponentially with the wrong team players. I would rather have a group of 6 that are spectacular, that fuel my fire to come to work every morning, that when I get, that number on my cell phone that comes up and it's one of my team members, I'm thrilled to get that call, because, I know that it's not going to be, an ethics issue. It's not going to be, a challenge that we shouldn't be dealing with. And I think that's one of the biggest challenges that we have. Just finding the right people, and I'm going to stick to my guns forever on that. And we're organically growing, and we'll continue to do it that way. But I started building my team when I opened my brokerage, which was 2018. When I first was a managing broker for a next home office, and then I opened my office officially January of this year. So some of the folks that I'd worked with in the past came along with me. I've had some wonderful relationships with some other associates that worked with me at that point. They reached out some other agents that they worked with that would be a good fit, interviewed them, brought them on board. So again, it's internal, it's organic, and it's just been good to this point. So if I can make a recommendation to anyone out there that's looking to build a team, don't rush to just fill a spot with anybody. Make sure that they're good for you. And kind of like Jeff was saying, and I think that Ali touched on it as well, you have to take a step back. You might be this amazing producer as an individual, but if you want to build the proper team, there's going to be some expenses. There's going to be a ton of time investment. Just make those right choices, and know that, once you get over that hump, there's going to be, there's an amazing place there, but you don't get there by chance. You have to work your tail off to get there, but there's that glory land that you'll get to if you just keep working on it. And I'm sure if you have any questions to any one of us on this panel, we can help you out with that. So that's
cool. Thank you, Kent. There's an old saying out there when building teams to be slow to hire and quick to fire. And that's the mentality behind, I'm hearing from a couple of you, is just being clear on exactly what it is you're looking for. And we're going to actually, that's the next question here after Christina.
And he's right. Slow to hire, quick to fire. God bless.
Yes.
Yeah.
Christina.
Yeah.
Sorry, I froze up there for a second. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah.
All right. Christina, why don't you go next? Tell us a little bit about, again, your point of starting to build your team, why that was the right time, and what challenges you might have experienced.
So I don't know if we have time for all the challenges. However, I started a team for the right reason. It was I had so much business I couldn't handle. So a lot of people start for ego. They start because, they have a lot of money. They just want to leads. In 2014, when I went to walked into my first ever coaching experience and realized I don't have a CRM. I didn't want to be one of those agents and those REO agents that people said you can never get a hold of. So I was working 15 hours a day with probably 100+ listings. The buyer leads just went to whoever picked them up at my office. And I knew I had to take control of my business. So I was also dealing with cancer at the same time, fought that while while for a year, learning everything I could and implementing the exact plan that my coach had advised me to do. And they forgot about things like structuring profit, which is why I came to where I am. And I just had this group of people already around me that I attracted due to the amount of business. We all liked each other. And so that's why I started a team. I had so much business I couldn't handle. Now, why I've kept the team is it's continued to stay that way. My coaching, and I'm a coach for MAPS, and actually building, just got done writing a short sale and foreclosure course for them that's launching. I kept the team because as you grow and you are around really high thinkers and people that continue to push you, and your coaching elevates. So I have a head coach at MAPS who's my coach. So they push you, they expect more from you. And, you know, for me, my goal is to be the largest team, not the largest team, but the team that sells the most in all of Stellar MLS. So that's where I'm focusing now, but you never know where things are going to go. What I would tell you is I've learned everything the hard way. I've kept people just because we're friends. I had wrong profit splits where I was losing money every single month. And I had no accountability, no leads. Well, the leads we get, gosh, we probably get hundreds a week, but no expectation on what was needed. So that's why I joined Keller Williams. And, you know, I have a director of operations now. I hired a team leader who was a team leader for 8 years with Keller Williams, different Keller Williams market centers. And we are just focusing on running a profitable virtual right now business to help agents for the next wave. And, you know, the way things are happening in our world, I'm really great at creating distress opportunities and teaching agents how to think differently. So I've learned it all the hard way. Hire for the person, but hire for just, for me, I'm different. Everyone is different on what they can do. Not every agent can sell 50 houses. So I'm the one that knows that, you know, they're dealing with cancer, or they're going through a divorce, or the different things. So I relate to them on a deeper level. However, we do have a lot of different layers of leadership now and support. And I'm excited about the future.
Great stuff. You touched a little bit there on the ability to really find like what motivates each individual team member and how to be able to connect with them on a personal level. The next question ties into that, I think, because we're going to ask about, you know, how and this could be a two-part question as well, but how did you go about finding, attracting, and developing the talent that you work with, the agents that you wanted? So like specifically, what do you actually look for in bringing people onto your team? And has that evolved over time? You know, was it something before and it's something different now? Or has that been the case, you know, been consistent the entire time of what, you know, being clear? I think it was Kent that mentioned like really being clear on what it is you want and not deviating from that. And out of like desperation or urgency. So that's the question on the table. And I do see the questions, by the way, that are getting thrown into the chat box, which I encourage. So that's great. We will carve some time out to be able to address some of those questions, just so you know. So we will get to them, I promise you. Let's start with Allie with that question there of, you know, I know that you take a lot of pride in your culture, Allie, and we will talk even a little bit more, I would say, about culture specifically, but you can throw some of the culture into this question too. How do you go about finding, attracting, and developing the team that you want?
You know, each brokerage has their own strategy and culture. And I remember when I first got into the business, I went in with a suit on and I had my portfolio and resume, and then I was just being pitched on why I needed to join with no questions necessarily asked about who I was. Whereas what we have done with our company is we really have a vetting interview, because we invest so much in the agents that we bring on board that every agent's not necessarily going to be a good fit. And so for our brokerage specifically, which is going to be different, you really have to find your home, is that we're not trying to be the biggest. We're trying to, create a smaller group of very collaborative agents that are looking to invest in themselves, in education and coaching, not somebody who's just, kind of running stagnant necessarily. Egos can also play a big part in who the person is when they come in the door, and are they going to be someone who's just like, what are you going to do for me? And, but we really look for somebody who's going to also give back, and learn and do, like, whether it be things like this for our agents. We really believe in the abundance mentality. And that being, especially, it can be really hard to maintain an abundance mentality in this crazy market when there are not an abundance of listings to be sold. But, this world of real estate can really be, people are just slitting each other's throats left and right. And it's hard to see other people behave that way and still maintain the course of always doing what's right. And there's no gray area for us. There's a right and there's a wrong. And so we look for agents who are never going to teeter on that line of, hey, maybe if I just do this, I'll make a little bit more money. It's always about serving the client, not necessarily serving yourself to get more income, because if you always serve the client and put them first, your reputation will bring in that many more leads. So we look for people who have that abundance mentality, that collaborative mentality that all of us share in each other's successes, which it's different from many others that are out there. So that, I would say, those are the two key points of, collaborative and ethical behavior. And then the third being discipline, because a lot of agents can go to all of the trainings and all the education and blah, 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 but are they going to implement? And that's the key, is that you can go to all these trainings, and feel like you have all of these knowledge, but sometimes they just don't take that extra step to actually implement what they've learned. And that is the most important part. Otherwise, you wasted your time going to all of these trainings. And so those, I think, being the three key factors in creating the culture that we have. And I think, we've been in business for 5 years now. And I think that we really have created a reputation of being a very ethical, we're aggressive, but we're ethical with all of the agents that we recruit to our team.
Cool. Thank you, Allie. It seems, again, being very clear on exactly what type of culture. And that's always, I would imagine, hard to identify, even in an interviewing process, whether somebody would be the perfect fit for that. And I'm sure you can share stories of people that originally, quote unquote, fooled you and maybe seemed like they were going to be a fit. And then maybe as they were involved in your business, they proved not to be a great fit. And so we're going to touch on that too, as to how we handle those situations.
Just referrals from agents that have had a transaction with that agent, I think, is the best way to really determine the kind of agent that they are. And did they have a good working relationship with them?
Makes sense. Yeah, absolutely. Jeff, let's go to you.
That's funny. Allie put that last little bit of information in there because that's where I was going to kick off. So thank you, Allie, for the great transition. But without a doubt, I mean,
we'll go to Ken. That's fine.
I'm sorry. Did you say Jeff?
No, go ahead, Ken. It's fine. We'll go to Jeff next.
Okay, I'm sorry.
No worries, man.
I apologize. I thought you said Kent. Yeah, but that's where not just an associate or a broker's true colors shine, but that's where an individual's true colors shine, and that's in the heat and the process of the transaction. Even at the presentation of an offer, you get a temperature of who you're dealing with. And obviously as that goes, you have interactions, you have discussions, your other associates have the same interactions with these people. And there's times when you walk away from, a closing and you think to yourself, that associate that worked on the other side of that transaction with me is awesome. They might be a good fit for our organization. And I've had situations where I've had, the opposite side of that transaction approach me and say, hey, I love everything about what y'all did. Let's talk. And that's a great place, because not only they're not able to fluff like Don was saying, and just kind of smoke and mirrors get into your organization. You see them in action, and you know what they're really all about. So that's one place to where I like to go about finding and attracting agents. Obviously, we have our networks. We have a sphere of other professionals. There's some amazing professions. School teachers make great real estate agents. There's a few other sales.
They
careers.
Implement. They learn and they implement.
They plan.
They execute.
Yeah. Think of how much planning a teacher does. They spend so much time on that, and they have goals. They have a schedule that they work with, and they implement. And you talk about one very important character, and that's patience. You show me an elementary school teacher that doesn't have the patience of Job, and that's something that we need. So those are some of the things, and then developing the agents that we have or that I want. I have an open door policy. I'm an NAR certified educator, and I've taught courses. I've invited other agents from other brokerages in to sit in our courses. No pressure. It's not my way of trying to recruit anyone. It's just my way of sharing the passion that I have for offering, the knowledge and experience that I have, that hopefully someone can grow from it. If they see that they're interested in maybe what we have, then that's a great opportunity for them as well. And what I look for specifically, and I think there's a kind of a common theme going on here, is, someone that's humble, someone that's truly a team player. Honesty is critical. Ethics is an absolute must. And that someone is willing to learn. Those egos, there's no place in my organization for an egotistical, broker associate, or, sales associate. I refuse to have that. That's probably right up there with ethics. If you're an ego, there's another brokerage for you. If you're unethical in what you're doing, there's a broker that'll hire you, and you can go and be successful there, because that's not what I want. And then, there's other organizations that are associate and agent centric, and that's what they build their business on. And some of them are very successful. Like Allie stated, she's, client centric. I consider us consumer centric or customer centric. Our focus is on the client and on the buyer and seller. It's not on me, it's not on my team members. It is on the humans. And we have a hashtag at Next Home, humans over houses. And we've been using that for years. And that truly kind of describes the tone of who we are. So I think that kind of answers about how I go about finding, my talent and what we're all about. So
Humans over houses. I like it.
Humans over houses. Yes, sir.
There's an old sales term out there, I'm sure Jeff is aware of, ABC, right? Stands for always be closing. And one of the things that a team builder that I respect taught me years ago is the concept of ABL, which is to always be looking, and just standing, like, always be looking for that next talented candidate that would be a valuable member of your team. And Kent touched on that, like in every transaction, like just always be looking for somebody who impressed you, and being clear on why they impressed you, because you just never know when that next valuable team member is right around the corner. Go ahead, Kent.
I need one more little input too. And I think, again, Don, I think you had mentioned it maybe about, when you interview, and I think Allie touched on it as well. It's just so neat how much we agree with a lot of what we're talking about. And I think, Allie, you said when you went in to interview or be interviewed for a brokerage that you were working for, they were force feeding you all the great things that they were going to do for you. That's nice, but that's down the road. When I meet with someone, I sit down and I try to find out who they are, what their needs are, ask, and be quiet. And they'll open up. They will spill every single bean to you. They'll explain to you what they need, what they want, what they're capable of doing. And if that fits, and then you have those tools that they need to do their job correctly, then that person's a fit. If not,
And you can have the
they've
same
just
approach with the brokerage as in building your team too. It's still about finding out who that person is.
right.
Yeah.
But they they can almost talk themselves out of the position because they just might tell you everything that you need to know without you having to sit there and try and figure it out. But I think, a lot of what makes an individual and a professional successful is ask questions and be patient.
Yeah, I think most successful people I know don't have to try to be impressive. They are great listeners, and that's what makes them successful in the first place. Jeff, let's go back to you, bud.
Yeah, so I've got a little bit of a different perspective, and not in principle, just in maybe what I'm looking for. So for my team, we really thrive on hiring newer or newish agents or people that have maybe grinded out their first year and did a few transactions, because I am a product of, frankly, fire and brimstone. I mean, I got crushed and wiped out in 08 and 09. And, I've been through even, just different things that have caused me to really like grit, right? So I really look for grit, and that's just culture, right? So what kind of culture do you want? So I don't necessarily look for someone with patience, because I don't need anybody with patience. I need people that are fast, aggressive, and willing to walk through fire to get to a transaction, if that makes sense. So I don't mean to be like overly dramatic here, yet it's what fits your organization, right? What's the core? What's the really, who are you? And if you're a leader, your vision should come from your insides, right? And that's our job as a leader, is to cast vision. And if we're casting vision of what it's like to be here, I always tell agents that I've built a organization that makes it we're literally, I believe, the easiest place in Tampa Bay for a salesperson to make $100,000. We have, with our support staff, I've got the best operations team that I'm aware of any team in the state of Florida, not just Keller Williams, just period. So I've being a salesperson, I really have been like, hey, what do I like to do? What do I not like to do? And as you all know, I've now told you, paperwork, compliance, all of that stuff, which is why I stay at a brokerage and I don't open a brokerage. I have this many desires to be a managing broker and babysit and deal with compliance or legal issues. I am a sales machine. And because of that, I've built a team that takes all of the stuff off of the agent's plate so that they can sell real estate. And, because we live in a crazy world. Sales realtors are sales agents that spend 90% of their time doing marketing and doing admin work and doing compliance. Who the heck wants to do that? I don't know. I don't know any salespeople that want to spend 90% of their time not doing sales. So that's really what I set out to do, was build an organization that I would want to be an agent on. And what that looks like to me is just full support of everything so that you can do sales. So I'm looking for salespeople. So they're grit, fire, quick, aggressive, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I love that there's different perspectives on here. That's the point of having the four of you guys together. It'd be pretty boring if we all agreed on everything and said the exact same thing. So
I want natural born salespeople that are fast.
Love it. Christina, what would you add to this convo?
Hold on. I apologize. My household just got live and loud. So this is part of COVID life.
I have four little kids here, so at any moment my whole house could explode. So I mean,
my mom just picked up the baby and the dog's barking. So okay, so we were talking about attracting talent. So for me, I've always been, I have lost everything and rebuilt. I've always been very transparent on my life and the things that I've gone through, as well as sharing what I do. I'm not worried that someone's going to take it and steal it, if that makes sense. So I've always been on panels, added value, been been part of the community, which I think causes the attraction of talent part. So when you are there and you're present, I believe that helps attract talent. We are being super intentional about it now because we have so much business coming through. We can't handle all of it. And we're hiring ISA teams and things like that. What I would tell you is what's changed from the beginning to now is I love everyone like wholeheartedly. They call me grandma or mama bear. That's part of our world, but I'm focusing on my 20%, the things that create revenue for us, because that's what I really, really enjoy, bringing that large opportunity. However, I'm in a business and I'm running a business. Before, that was not the expectation. So someone comes on, they have a split. This is what the split is. And this is why, because this is the value we provide. I have a full-time recruiter, and we are growing because I'm preparing for the downturn of the market. And we, it's going to be big. Everyone should be building out short sale departments. So, for us, I want ethical, honest, no drama, people that want to wake up hard. They want to wake up and they want to work hard for their family. Everyone's goals are different. We have many different lead levers that the agents focus on, and everything's virtual. I have an entire virtual Kajabi production where the agents have a plan from contracts to everything is virtualized. So we're really focusing on running a business and being around people that want help growing their business and being coached to a higher level. But I still have that, like I send cookies and send out cards and tell them, I sign off every single time I send them something, love you dearly, because I really do. But we have an operations manager and an expansion director, all those different facets. So I've learned a lot. I've learned a lot, and I'm excited for the future.
Still got that mama bear heart, though. Everyone loves cookies. You can't go wrong. Can't go wrong with cookies.
I do. They know I truly care for them. And my goal is to continue to grow a world so big that it won't grow out. They will not outgrow it. Because it's not all about me.
All four of you touched on a part of this next question because you started talking a little bit about what you're looking for when you hire someone, which obviously speaks to the culture that you have and that you want to build on. So just to nail this and to be clear on it, how would you define your culture right now? How would you define the culture that you have in your team? How would you define it? How has it been created? And how has it grown over the course of the years? So, defining what the culture is you wanted and that you have, how it's been created, and how it's actually grown over the years that you want. And I mentioned earlier, like, what happens if someone has proved themselves to not be a good cultural fit? I'm assuming that might show up pretty quickly in the process, and maybe that's been a while since any of you have experienced it. But what happens with that scenario if that goes? So Christina, we're going to go to you first since you got the short end of the staff the last 2 rounds. So
that's okay. I'm normally the one that's likes to talk a lot, so I'm learning to let other people talk first. That's part of growth and leadership, right? Through COVID, I believe every single company has had to grow and change the way their culture is maintained. And I personally, I'm going through a lot of, I'd say, leadership growth personally. Like I'm following like John Maxwell's Daily Reader, listening to podcasts of CEOs that are pivoting. And we created an entire virtual world for our agents because we are in many market centers, and if someone gets sick at a market center or there's things that happen, I love Keller Williams so much. I wanted to make sure that no matter what happens with someone's health, there is always a way and a place for the agents to plug into contracts classes or different things to be able to virtualize. So I'd say our culture has very much changed. because we do have that virtual world. We are on Zoom multiple times a week. One of my favorite apps is Voxer, which is a walkie-talkie app. And anyone, you know, a lot of rainmakers, which in the KW world, that's what they call us, is they say we're not accessible, but at any time someone can send me a Voxer and a brain dump and I respond. So we're really working hard to make that world virtual. I have cancer in my background, so I won't be at your yacht party because I am insanely careful right now. I'd say the other culture fit is when you have the same splits and structure, that helps, because when you have agents on different splits and they tell each other, then things change. So I've learned that the hard way. I do a lot for the homeless. It's part of what, part of being in the foreclosure community, seeing people from committing suicide to not knowing their options. So I'm very passionate about that. So every sale we have, we're giving towards Metropolitan Ministries, towards their COVID fund. So when we are able to be more present, you know, I'd feed I go and cook every single week. We do a lot of giving back and nonprofit. Now we are helping them, and I'm randomly, like, Instacart's great, blessing people with groceries. So I'd say cultures, I think, have changed, and we're really working hard to make the agents feel like some can't see you, like hug you, but we're really making hard to make them feel part of a community. So we have multiple things that we do during the week.
Yeah, it sounds like very much a community culture. I'm assuming most of your agents, if not all of them, are involved in these various affiliations in some way, shape, or form.
They all have different passions, and you know, homeless and giving back is definitely a passion that we are part of in a big way, and most of them are supportive of that. Everyone is supportive of that, but you know, some of them have like a cancer charity, or you know, their animals. That's their one thing and their passion. We also very faith oriented. Like, it's not that I pray in front of the team, but we have every Monday we've got a Bible study. We have a lot of people that used to be pastors that are part of our group. So it's not, people are funny. I don't throw up my religion. They just know. So it's that I believe has helped just help me personally grown in my faith and my leadership throughout this. And I'm becoming a better leader for them.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that John Maxwell book as well. I've used it many years myself. So
I just got the Bible I'm excited about.
Yes,
so
he has a
the leadership Bible.
That's another one of my favorites. He's got some great commentary in there as you study the word as well. So that's awesome.
He does. And Mo Anderson, who's an icon in our community or in our company, about a year ago, I told her what my goals and my vision is, and she told me that the stronger you get in the word, it's going to manifest, and that's how things have happened. So
amen.
Anyway.
I agree with that.
Yes.
What about you, buddy? Anything you would add there regarding your definition of the culture and how that's grown in your organization?
Me?
Who's Buddy?
Kent.
Okay. I didn't want to jump too soon this time, because I think I did that the last time.
No, I'm sorry. I have to speak clear, get the marbles out of my mouth or something.
No,
I apologize.
It's fine. It's fine. I'm not the best hearing individual anyway, so that's on me. All right. But it's again, this panel is an amazing group of people. Christina spoke to several things that I wanted to share on this topic. And I love the fact that, Jeff spoke up a minute ago about the way he runs his organization. And there's some amazing restaurants around the Tampa Bay area that have the most unbelievable Cuban sandwiches. You don't go there and order a pizza. And that's kind of what we have. I mean, each one of us have an organization, and there's a fit for people out there. And there's a culture that's a fit. And I think each of us as leaders create that culture, and we lead kind of through example, not just example of what we do professionally, but just in our personal lives. And we want to draw those types of people to us. And that's the biggest part of the culture. And it kind of does evolve and develop within that. But, you know, at the end of the day, you're the leader and you're the one that's kind of in charge of everything that's going on. And if you don't exude and emanate something that others can look to and appreciate, you're probably going to be in a pretty rough spot. Something that I do to create the growth and culture for my team is, number one, I run it as a regular brokerage with individual associates. We have one group that operates as a team right now, but as a whole, we all operate as a team. I mean, we help each other out all the time. We answer each other's questions. We'll cover for an open house. You know, we'll go for a home inspection, you know, whatever that is. We do that as a true team, but we don't take away from the individual. And personally, I'm adamant in each team member receiving the credit and the glory that's due to them as an individual. That goes for compensation. That goes for credit for the sale in MLS, recognition within my organization. And part of what I do is I help with goal setting and goal attaining. And annually, you know, we meet for, you know, a business plan and personal financial, you know, planning. And that's huge. It creates a great culture, but also lets them set themselves up for success throughout that year. And something that Christina touched on is being accessible. And I've got what I call the triple A's, that if I can't do this, I'm horrible at what I'm doing. But number one, I have to be accessible. Can you get to me? Number two is available. Am I available when you need me? And then number three is approachable. And that's critical. You know, are you comfortable talking with me and sharing with me? If you have a problem, are you okay coming to me and asking me and having trust and faith that I'm going to give you the information that you really need? Or am I going to tell you how horrible you are? You're doing this wrong. Here's the way you have to do it. And those are all critical. And it's funny. We use the app Marco Polo as one of the ways that we're accessible to each other. And that's something, you know, some of my team members introduced me to. I wasn't aware of it before, but it's been amazing. And we use that as a tool to communicate, knowing that we're all busy. But, you know, Marco Polo, if you're not familiar with it, is, you know, it's like a video text, and you can respond to it whenever you have time to respond to it. But if you're driving in your car and you have something on your mind, instead of being unsafe and sitting there texting, you just leave a Marco Polo message for a couple of seconds, and then the person gets back to you. So we're all busy. I'm busy. I'm busy running my business, busy being a leader, busy taking care of my team, and all those things, you know, administratively that Jeff hates to do. I still have to do those things. But I'm also going to always be accessible, and whatever tool it is that we need to use to make that happen, you know, I'm always willing to embrace that. And I'm happy, you know, that we all are able to share different ideas as well, because, you know, there may be something out there that one of y'all are using that I'm not using that might be good. So hopefully that explains kind of what our culture is about and what I've done, you know, to grow what we have.
Yeah, no, thanks, Kent. And I appreciate you guys throwing out some apps that you love as well. That was one of the questions that we probably won't have time to. So you guys are incorporating other things in there too to give more value. I appreciate it. Jeff, let's go to you. Anything you want to add there regarding defining? And now you touched on this a little bit before. If there's anything different that you want to add to defining and growing and creating the culture that you had, and what happens if somebody is not a good cultural fit?
Yeah, we do team events pretty much monthly. They haven't been perfectly 100% during COVID, yet we've done even virtual happy hours and so forth, because keeping everybody plugged in is obviously important. So, you know, just really spending time with each other. And, you know, I do a power up every single day with the team at 8:30, where we do gratitude and intentions for the day and what their numbers were for the previous day. We also do, you know, many trainings during that time, and we have an entire team training calendar as well. So, you know, just really making sure that we're plugged in and available. You know, like what Kent was saying, you know, we've got a very active Facebook message group. You know, if somebody needs me, I'm accessible. and the entire staff is. And that's the point, is for all of us to work together. So it's the whole Three Musketeers. It's all for one for all. I mean, you're either part of the team or you're not. And the people that don't fit that culture, frankly, they weed themselves out because they don't like having a weekly one-on-one with me, So if they don't want to have a weekly one-on-one with me and discuss their business and leads and how things are going, they're going to leave. So salespeople, you literally should never have to fire. If you're running a real estate team where you're like really plugged in, talking to them on a daily, weekly basis, you never have to kick someone off your team. Like, they're going to leave. Now, staff is another conversation, but agents, they just weed themselves out automatically. So if they're not a cultural fit for the team, they're going to leave because they don't want, they may say in the hiring process, I want accountability, I want this. And then when you're doing the process with them, they don't like it. They don't want it. They don't want to grind it out. They're just going to, give you the peace sign, and you're like, thank God, because that wasn't working, right? Mm-hmm. And then I had one other thing, but I forgot it. So you get the gist. So be plugged in with your people, be available. It's all about being learning-based, training-based, and just go from there.
Awesome. Allie, you want to bring us home on this topic?
Yeah, I love some of the points that were made on, making sure that you go to the right restaurant for the thing that they specialize in, because that's another reason why you hire a team, is there are so many things that I'm not good at that it's so much better for me to, have somebody else who really that is their strong suit. And it sometimes has been hard for me understanding different personalities. Like some people, like as an agent, you can really, and being in sales, you're very much like in the limelight, whereas some people really enjoy being that person behind the curtain that's making, I hate to call it like the machine moving forward. Everybody really has their own comfort zones. And so even though for me, just like Jeff, we're not the kind of people that like to be, sitting at the desk doing all the administrative tasks, but there are some people that really thrive in that environment. They love organizing and making sure that all the files are, T's are crossed and I's are dotted. And so everybody has their own strengths, and recognizing those strengths, and don't put the wrong person in a role and then expect them to just learn it and be good at it. Just like I think I'm pretty good at this job and building relationships in front of people. I was a terrible inside sales rep. I had a great attitude, or I was actually a waitress at one point, and my manager told me that I was the worst waitress with the best attitude. We're not everything to everyone, and figuring out the right fit is so important. But don't fault them if you didn't do a proper job in vetting them and figuring out their strengths, and then you put them in the wrong position. Do that vetting first, and don't put them in that position and expect them to thrive. But, I think Don, was frozen at this point, but it was said that, hire slowly and fire quickly. If it's not the right fit, like, don't make it agonizing. If it's just not jiving, it's better to just let that person move on. I will say, hire slowly, because especially if it's a salaried staff member, and that's their income that you're talking about here. So make sure that they're the right fit before they go and quit their job and join your team. That is your responsibility, to make sure that you properly vet them. But then after that, you want to make sure that everything that they said in their interview and that they portrayed that they truly are when you put them in the position. But, there have definitely been some awkward scenarios where we've had to let people go because it wasn't the right fit. But as much as like, oh my gosh, I just like would lose sleep over it when I knew I had to do it the next day. Once it was done, it was just like, what, that was the right move, and everybody can be a little bit more at peace. And those people that weren't the right fit for us have moved on and done bigger and better things. And that makes me so happy. So, everybody's not going to be the right fit, but it is your responsibility, if you are hiring someone on, that you do your proper due diligence to make sure that you're hiring for the right skills for the position that you're hiring for.
Yeah, and unfortunately, we're out of time with the talented group that we have, because there's other questions that I would love to dive into with you guys. We'll have to do this again sometime. But I will say that, not everybody should build a team, in my opinion, and many agents out there maybe are kind of looking at it as a shiny penny type of a thing, when the best thing for that individual might be to just put their head down and they'd have a better lifestyle potentially, and run a better, more successful business if they don't go down the path of building a team. So I wanted to close with just very rapid fire. Like, if you guys can share, like, for somebody who is convinced that they should build a team and that it's the right thing for them and the timing is right, we all know that to be an effective team leader means that we have to be growing personally, because our people are going to be dependent on us. John Maxwell talks a lot about the law of the lid and how any organization is going to be capped by the growth of the leader. And so if I had to quickly just give you a chance to share one particular author or, seminar leader, some sort of influencer that you feel like has made a huge impact on you as a leader, that you think somebody else should follow and look into if they want to grow and develop themselves as leaders in this business, who would come to mind? And we'll close with this rapid fire. Christina?
Ben Kenny, his Win, Make, Give podcast.
Love it.
Highly
Ben
recommend.
Kenny. Kent?
Yeah.
I love Brian Buffini.
Brian Buffini. Allie?
That's a really good one. Our book that we give to every agent is The Go-Giver. Very short read.
Yeah, that's a great book as
Great
well,
one.
for sure. And I can see that fitting your culture perfectly, Allie. That makes a lot of sense. And Jeff?
Podcast, Gary Keller, Think Like a CEO.
Gary
Really
Keller,
great.
Think Like a CEO. Awesome. All right, guys, I truly appreciate all of you for being on, and would love to see you guys next week if you're able to make it. If you're interested in being able to join us on the yacht, which is going to be social distance responsibly, I will add. We're only going to have about 20 people.
Thermometers, all 9 yards.
Marina Cantina will be a little bit bigger, but it is all outside, and we will be providing masks, and you're welcome to bring your own as well. And we'll have a branded sanitizer, just so you're aware, as well.
What
So
a
look forward to
world.
seeing if you're
What
able
a
to make
world.
it. Shoot me a text or an email for you 4 panelists if you are able to make the boat, so I can reserve a spot for you. Obviously, there's no obligation at all, but you guys are amazing at what you do, and definitely appreciate you spending the time with us this morning. So you have a great day.
Thanks for the invite.
Yep. Thank you very
Have a
much
good
for
one.
everything you do.
Bye.
Everyone on the call.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, everybody.